Rain poured heavily over Dar es Salaam that night, the streets already flooding as thunder rolled above. 16-year-old Ayanda stood trembling at the doorway of her home, tears mixing with the rain. Her parents had just shoved her outside after another heated fight, their angry voices still echoing from inside as the door slammed shut and locked. She banged on it with her small fists, her cries breaking through the storm. "Please let me in. I'm sorry." Her voice cracked, but no one answered. The rain soaked her thin clothes, plastering her hair to her face as she sank to the ground, hugging her knees against the cold. Neighbors peeked from behind their curtains, whispering but refusing to open their doors. She felt invisible, abandoned, unwanted, even by her own family. Through her sobs, one thought haunted her. Maybe she really was useless. "They thought only the rain saw me," Ayanda would later say. But the cameras were watching too. In Ayanda's house, love was not shared equally. Her older brother Bantu was treated like royalty. He never had to lift a finger. His plate was always served first, his clothes washed and ironed, his mistakes quickly forgiven. Their parents bragged about him to neighbors, calling him the pride of the family, the one who would bring honor to their name. But for Ayanda, life was different. She was the one who woke up early to sweep the floor, cook breakfast, and fetch water. After school, while Bantu rested or played football with friends, Ayanda scrubbed dishes, washed clothes, and prepared dinner. Her small hands were always busy, yet no one ever said thank you. Instead, her parents compared her to Bantu with sharp words that cut deeper than any storm. "Look at your brother," they would scold. "Smart, strong, useful. And you? You're nothing but a burden. Useless." Ayanda would lower her head, swallowing the pain, even as her heart begged for just a little kindness. She dreamed of hearing the same praise Bantu received, of being seen as worthy too. But in that house she was invisible, her sacrifices unseen, her efforts dismissed. Every insult chipped away at her spirit, but she learned to hide her tears and keep working. Deep inside, though, Ayanda carried a quiet fire. She promised herself that one day, the world would see her value, even if her own parents never did. Ayanda was only 16, but she carried responsibilities heavier than most adults. While other girls her age spent afternoons laughing with friends, Ayanda was busy working small jobs just to survive. She washed neighbors' clothes until her fingers wrinkled and burned from soap. She tutored younger children in math and reading, her voice gentle and patient. Even when she was exhausted, every shilling she earned went straight into her school fees, because she refused to give up on education. At night, she studied under the dim light of a candle after finishing her chores, her eyes heavy but her will strong. She dreamed of becoming someone different, someone who could one day stand tall and say she made it on her own. But at home, there was no applause, no gratitude. Her parents never noticed how hard she worked. Instead, they kept reminding her of what she supposedly lacked. "All this effort, and still you're nothing," her mother would mutter. "Why can't you be like Bantu?" her father added. The words hurt more than hunger ever could. She was fighting silently every day, but in their eyes she was still useless. Ayanda swallowed her tears, hiding them behind a small, practiced smile. She told herself that one day, she would prove them wrong. They didn't see her value, but she believed that somewhere, somehow, someone in the world would. It started with something small, almost too small to believe. Dinner was late, and Ayanda had accidentally burned the ugali while trying to finish her homework. Her father's face darkened, and her mother's voice rose like fire. "You can't even cook properly. Useless girl." Ayanda tried to explain, her voice shaking. "I'm sorry, I was studying. I'll fix it." But her words only made them angrier. Her father slammed his hand on the table, his voice echoing through the house. "You bring shame to this family. Always mistakes, always excuses." Her mother joined in, pointing at the door. "Get out. We don't need you here." Before Ayanda could react, her father grabbed her by the arm and shoved her toward the door. She stumbled, her heart racing. "Please, Baba. Mama. I'm sorry, I'll do better," she cried, her hands pressed against the frame. But their faces were hard, their anger unshaken. With one final push, they forced her out into the cold night. The door slammed shut. Then came the sound that broke her heart more than the rain ever could. The bolt sliding into place. Locked. shut out from the only place she had ever called home. Ayanda stood there in the darkness, the storm beginning to pour. Her chest rose and fell with sobs as she realized this was no longer just anger. It was betrayal. Her own parents had thrown her away like she was nothing. The rain fell harder, soaking Ayanda from head to toe as she sat on the cold ground outside her house. Her thin dress clung to her shivering body, her teeth chattering as she hugged her knees tightly to her chest. She pressed her forehead against her arms, trying to hide her face, but the sobs kept escaping, louder than the storm. From the windows nearby, shadows moved. Neighbors peeked through their curtains, their eyes full of curiosity, but not compassion. Some whispered to each other, shaking their heads, yet none of them opened their doors. They saw her pain but chose silence. To them, she was just another child in trouble, not their responsibility. Ayanda felt smaller with every passing minute, her tears mixing with the rain as she prayed someone, anyone, would help. Her heart ached with the kind of loneliness no storm could wash away. What she didn't know was that across the street, a small security camera fixed on the corner of a shop was recording everything. The lens caught her trembling frame, her desperate cries, her fragile body against the heavy rain. It didn't look away, it didn't ignore her. It captured the truth the world had yet to see. In that moment, Ayanda believed she was completely invisible. But fate had other plans. The storm wasn't just washing her pain away. It was writing the first lines of a story that would soon shake hearts far beyond her street. The next morning, Ayanda woke up stiff and cold, her clothes still damp from the night before. She had barely slept, curled up on the hard step outside the locked door. With heavy eyes and a heart full of shame, she gathered her books and quietly walked to school, hoping no one would notice how broken she felt inside. Her uniform clung to her skin, wrinkled and stained from the rain. Her shoes squished with every step, mud clinging to the edges. She kept her head down, praying she could slip into class unseen. But whispers quickly rose around her. "Look at her clothes," one girl laughed. "She smells like the rain," another teased. A group of boys pointed at her shoes, mocking her with cruel laughter. Ayanda's cheeks burned, her throat tight as she forced herself to keep walking. She wanted to scream that she had spent the night outside, abandoned, freezing, forgotten by the people who were supposed to love her. But the words stayed trapped in her chest. Instead, she bit her lip and took her seat, ignoring the sting of their laughter echoing in her ears. To her classmates, she was just entertainment for the morning. To Ayanda, it was another wound on top of many. She sat quietly, eyes fixed on her notebook, silently telling herself, "One day they will know my story. One day, they will regret mocking me." That same morning, while Ayanda was sitting quietly in class, something unexpected was happening across Dar es Salaam. The shopkeeper who owned the small store across from her house had checked his CCTV cameras. When he saw the footage of the young girl crying alone in the rain, banging on a locked door while her parents ignored her, his heart sank. He knew people needed to see this. With trembling hands, he clipped the video and uploaded it to social media. His caption was simple but powerful: "No child deserves this." Within minutes, comments started pouring in. Strangers were shocked, furious, and heartbroken at the sight of Ayanda's fragile body shaking in the storm. "How can parents do this?" one wrote. "This broke me," said another. The video spread like wildfire, shared from phone to phone, group to group. By afternoon, it had thousands of views. By nightfall, it had reached hundreds of thousands. The hashtag started trending. People called her the girl in the rain. Memes, tweets, and news outlets picked it up, each replaying the haunting image of a child left to cry outside in the dark. Ayanda had no idea that while she sat silently, mocked by her classmates, the whole world was seeing her pain. The camera that caught her suffering had turned her into a voice for every forgotten child. What was once her deepest shame was about to become her greatest turning point. By the next day, the video was everywhere. Phones buzzed with notifications as people shared it over and over again. Some cried while watching, others were filled with anger, but everyone agreed on one thing. What happened to Ayanda was wrong. Social media exploded with voices demanding answers. Big pages reposted the clip, influencers spoke about it, and news stations replayed it on TV. Hashtags started climbing. Hashtag Rain Girl and hashtag Justice for Ayanda trended across Tanzania and beyond. Thousands of people who had never met her suddenly cared about her, sending prayers, outrage, and promises of support. Journalists rushed to Dar es Salaam, desperate to find the girl in the video. Who was she? Where was she now? What kind of parents could do such a thing? Everyone wanted to know her story. Some people began gathering outside the neighborhood, holding posters that read, "Protect children, not hurt them." Others sent messages asking how they could help. Inside classrooms, even Ayanda's schoolmates scrolled on their phones, eyes widening as they realized the girl they had mocked that morning was now at the center of a national storm. Ayanda, still unaware of the chaos online, carried her pain quietly, believing nobody cared. But outside her little world, millions of strangers were ready to stand with her. The storm that had once left her alone was now bringing an army of voices to her side. The rain had washed her, but the world was beginning to see her shine. When the reporters finally found Ayanda, she was shy and nervous, clutching her worn school bag as cameras surrounded her. At first, her voice was small, almost a whisper, but the journalists encouraged her to speak. And when she did, her words touched hearts everywhere. She explained how life at home had always been unfair, how her brother Bantu was treated like a prince while she was made to cook, clean, and sacrifice. She told them about the insults, how her parents often called her useless, and how no matter how hard she worked to pay her own school fees, it was never enough for them. Then, with tears running down her cheeks, she described the night they pushed her out into the rain. "I begged them," she said softly. "I told them I was sorry, but they closed the door on me and locked it." Her voice cracked, but she kept going, determined to tell the truth. Millions who watched her interview were moved. People who had never met Ayanda cried as if she were their own daughter. Parents hugged their children tighter that night, realizing how painful rejection could be. Her honesty broke the walls of silence around child mistreatment. She was no longer just the girl in the rain. She became the voice of every child who had been ignored, insulted, or abandoned. Ayanda's story was no longer hidden in one house. It had become the nation's story. After her story spread, help began pouring in from every corner. NGOs reached out first, offering Ayanda a safe place to stay where she would never have to fear being locked out again. Activists arrived with bags of clean clothes, shoes, and warm blankets. For the first time in a long while, she felt cared for, not because she was useful, but simply because she mattered. Schools and organizations stepped forward too. One NGO announced they would cover her school fees all the way through university. "Your dreams are important," they told her, placing the scholarship papers in her hands. Ayanda held them tightly, her eyes filling with tears. Strangers who had only seen her video online sent donations. Some gave money, others sent books, food, and even letters filled with love and encouragement. Messages came from all over the world. "Stay strong, Ayanda. You are not alone. We believe in you." The same girl who once cried in the rain, believing no one saw her, was now surrounded by kindness from thousands of people. Her pain had turned into a movement of love and support. Ayanda whispered to herself one night as she lay in her new bed, "The rain almost broke me, but it also gave me a new beginning." For the first time, she felt hope rising inside her. The world had not just watched. This time, the world had caught her when her family let her fall. When Ayanda's parents saw the video everywhere, their anger boiled over. Instead of admitting what they had done, they turned their rage toward her. They called her a liar, saying she had exaggerated the story just to get attention. In interviews, they tried to defend themselves. "It was discipline, not cruelty," her father insisted. "Every parent corrects their child. She is making us look like monsters." Her mother added sharply, "People don't know the full story. She was stubborn, she disrespected us. We only wanted to teach her a lesson." But the world wasn't convinced. The footage spoke louder than their excuses. Millions had already seen Ayanda, trembling in the rain, begging to be let inside. No explanation could erase that image. People commented online, "Discipline is teaching, not abandonment." Others wrote, "You don't lock a child out in a storm and call it love." The more her parents tried to defend themselves, the more the public turned against them. Neighbors who had stayed silent before now whispered about the truth, confirming that Ayanda had always been treated unfairly. For the first time, the power shifted. Her parents' voices grew smaller, while Ayanda's truth grew louder. They had expected the world to stand with them as parents, but instead, the world stood with Ayanda. Their cruelty was no longer hidden behind closed doors. It had been exposed, and no one was willing to believe their lies anymore. Bantu had always been the golden child, the one praised and protected while Ayanda carried the weight of the household. But after the video spread, even he couldn't ignore what the world had seen. Reporters tried to question him, hoping he would defend his parents, but Bantu stayed quiet. He avoided the cameras, his once proud posture replaced with uncertainty. For the first time, he replayed the memories in his mind. The times Ayanda scrubbed the floors while he played outside. The nights she went hungry so he could eat. The harsh words their parents threw at her like stones. He had brushed it all aside, believing that was just how things were. But now, seeing her broken body in the rain, captured forever on camera, he realized it wasn't normal. It was cruelty. At home, his parents demanded, "Speak up for us. Tell them it was nothing." But Bantu couldn't. The truth weighed too heavily. He lowered his head, unable to meet their eyes. In silence, he admitted to himself that Ayanda had been right all along. The same silence that once made him a spoiled prince now felt like chains. He wasn't ready to fight for her yet, but he also couldn't fight against her anymore. For Ayanda, that small crack in his loyalty was everything. Her brother's silence spoke louder than words. It was proof that even the favored child could finally see the truth their parents had tried to hide. Ayanda's life slowly began to change. The NGO gave her a safe room of her own. A clean bed, fresh clothes, and meals she didn't have to beg for. For the first time, she woke up without fear of being shouted at or pushed aside. She carried her books with pride and walked to school knowing she finally had support behind her. People started calling her the girl from the rain. It wasn't a name of pity, but of strength. Teachers noticed her determination. She stayed late in the library, hungry for knowledge, refusing to waste the chance she had been given. Her grades began to soar, and soon she was one of the top students in her class. But Ayanda didn't stop with her own success. She looked at the younger girls around her, some facing struggles just like hers, and she reached out a hand. In the evenings, she gathered them under the trees or in small classrooms, tutoring them in math and English. She shared not just lessons from books, but lessons from her life. "You are not useless," she told them. "You are stronger than you think." Her kindness and resilience inspired everyone who met her. What began as a painful moment in the rain had transformed into a story of courage and hope. Ayanda was no longer the forgotten child crying at a locked door. She was becoming a light for others who needed to believe in themselves too. Years passed, and Ayanda's world grew brighter while her parents' world slowly crumbled. The money they had once poured into Bantu's dreams disappeared. Their business failed, debts piled up, and the neighbors who once admired them turned away. For the first time, they felt the sting of being powerless. With nowhere else to go, they came looking for Ayanda. She was no longer the trembling girl they had thrown into the rain. She was confident, educated, and respected. They found her outside a community center where she was tutoring young girls. Her father's voice was softer than she had ever heard before. "Ayanda, my daughter, we need your help." Her mother added quickly, "We are family. Blood cannot be broken." Ayanda looked at them for a long moment, memories rushing back. The insults, the slammed door, the night of betrayal. She thought of the years she begged for their love and never received it. Now they were the ones begging. Her voice was steady, her eyes firm as she finally spoke. "You left me in the storm. I built my own shelter. You cannot live in it now." Her words cut through the air like thunder, final and undeniable. The parents who once called her useless now stood silent, facing the truth they could no longer escape. Ayanda turned back to her students, leaving them behind. This time, it was not her locked out in the rain, it was them. Ayanda's pain became her power. With the support she received, she worked hard, finished her studies, and built something bigger than herself. She founded the Stormlight Foundation, a home for abandoned and mistreated children. What she once wished for, a safe bed, a warm meal, and someone to believe in her, she now gave to thousands of others. Her story spread again, But this time it wasn't just about her tears in the rain. Newspapers and TV stations carried the headline. They left her crying in the rain. Now she shelters thousands. Children who had once been forgotten now smiled under her care. Their laughter echoing through the very halls Ayanda built from her courage. Standing in front of the foundation, Ayanda shared the words that would go viral once more. The rain washed me, the cameras saved me, and the world raised me. The girl who was once locked out in the storm had become a light in the storm for others. Ayanda was no longer just the girl from the rain. She was the woman who turned her scars into shelter, proving to the world that even the deepest pain can bloom into hope.